just about to start in just a few moments. Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Fansview Fridays. I am Nadeshiko Gatsby, the Wisteria Witch, and welcome to my virtual cottage. This is where we will be exploring, wait, why is it 1999? We want 2000. Yep, Anime Week in Atlanta 2000. Yeah, every week we'll be discovering a brand new convention report by the legendary Kevin Lillard. For those of you who don't know, Kevin Lillard was an icon in the anime industry. Kevin Lillard was a photographer and he ran a website called Fansview. And Fansview would document cosplay photos, guest of honor interviews, panels, and Kevin's opinions on the convention itself. Because Kevin had passed in 2022, fansview.com is lost to the ether. However, most of fansview.com has been saved by webarchive.org. And this is just our way to preserve this part of anime history because we still need to preserve fandom history before the AI monsters get us. But anyway, so with that said, let's head over to Atlanta and let's just kind of adjust a few things here on the VTuber. Hang on. Sort of just here. Okay. Here, toss test. I like how I have tested my VTuber doing a hair toss just like this. Yay, tossing the hair. All right. So let's head over to Atlanta for Anime Weekend Atlanta. Anime Weekend Atlanta, which took place on October 6th through 8th, 2000 in Dunwoody, Georgia. Translator Anna Exeter and actor Michael Granberry were a part of the show in Georgia. All right, let's check out this 3-day convention. All right, here's a quick look at the first people at the Georgia event. I also gotta love this Y2K tables web design here. Friday dawned gray and rainy in DeKalb County, Georgia, just east of Atlanta, where the convention splashed into action. Dodging raindrops to become one of the first inhabitants of the Arts Alley was Sean the Touched, the animator who brought fresh music from his films. A rare out of costume shot of Tiki, who was ready to wear her Iron Cat outfit for Sue Iron Cat's table and promised a new costume. Inside a dealer's room, we found John Cerabella of Media Blaster setting up a booth. Robert Woodhead of Anime Ego was a few feet away. And Badger was on hand to break out new merchandise from Japan Depot to sell items just obtained after a trip from Japan. Jerry Chu of Bandai tried to be inconspicuous, but he couldn't hide among the 6 banners he set up to promote the videos sold in the dealer's room. Okay. New to the acting contingent was actor and director Michael Granberry, using Michael Brady as the writing board to sign an autograph. There was also David Williams of ADV Films and Jessica Calvello. And Jessica was sporting a new t-shirt on the comic strip from her website. Actor Brett Weaver had good news. After months of looking, he finally found a full-time job with a computer company. He'll continue as a part-time actor. Translator Anna Exeter slipped south from Canada to tell fans what really goes on into turning anime into an English language project. Every convention hotel has unique quirk. For Anime Week Atlanta's new home at the Crown Plaza Ravinia, the quirk was a glass case in the lobby containing a pair of birds. All right, what else happened on Friday? And a fast glance at the Friday morning costumers. Okay, it looks like we got Ayaka from Tenchi. Looks like that's registration. I want to say that's Sharon Apple, maybe? Okay, just kind of just going through. Got a couple of Dragon Ball Z cosplayers, tuxedo mask. Slayers with cardboard armor. That's so wholesome. We have Ukyo. Oh, I love that Ranma suitcase. That's awesome. We got Kuno. I love the Y2K animal print vibes there. We have Sakura. We have Guy whose head is in a basket. Okay, and then we have someone costumed from Child's Toy. Okay, there were more costumers on Friday afternoon, looks like. There's Guy in Basket, Nabeshin from Excel Saga. Okay, there's Utena from the movie. And again, if you are familiar with these cosplayers, or if you even know these cosplayers, please shout them out in the chat or in the comments. That's an Inuyasha plush. One of those card captor Sakura cosplayers and are wearing like those like creepy Japanese masks. I don't know, I never was a huge fan of masks. It's not the fault of the cosplayer themselves. I just don't like the aesthetic of the mask. It kind of reminds me of like back in the 80s, you had like those Halloween smock costumes, and you had like a plastic mask that went with a smock that had like the logo or something. Oh yeah, I think I know that Neptune. We have someone from Final Fantasy VIII, and I think I know that person in a school uniform. Oh no. Okay, Guy in looks like a Civil War uniform, I want to say. Okay, scrolling down. That's some crazy wig work there. More crazy wig work. Not sure what this is from, but again, if you know what it is, shout it out in the chat. Okay, we have Renoa. That's a really good Renoa. We also have Nanami. We have Iori from King of Fighters. I remember like seeing a lot of Iori cosplay from like King of Fighters like in the early 2000s. Okay, scrolling down. We got Spike from Cowboy Bebop. Alright, just scrolling through. We got Toski. Not sure what those mecha cardboard stuff are supposed to be, but hey, we have food from Magic Knight Rayearth. Again, remember, this was the days where you kind of had to work with what you got. And the costuming total increased as the sun headed towards the western horizon. Okay, just scrolling through here, we have Moose from Ranma. Scrolling through, we got Ranma over there. Some of these costumes I do recognize, but I probably don't know what it's from. Like, I know this is from, like, Yamato. And I feel like this one could be, like, from a number of JRPGs. It's just not registering in my mind. Also, check out those Bandai Entertainment bags. We also have someone from Animal Magnetism. Wow, I remembered, like, when Animal Magnetism was a thing in cosplay. I kind of avoided it when it was trending. Because, like, well, I've never played the game. I don't really know what it's all about. And I had a general rule back then, like, if I've never played the game, if I never watched the anime, I'm probably not going to cosplay from it. I kind of broke that rule, I do admit, when they cosplayed from rival schools, but I'm like, at least it was a franchise I was somewhat familiar with. Oh, there's Noriko. And check out that, like, old school camera they're holding. You got one of the twins from Fushigi Yugi. Got Murasame from Giant Robo. Another Sakura. Ed! Nice. Ah, nice. We have Mana from Alice Miser. It's nice seeing like the whole like visual K cosplay from like back in this era. Okay, we have someone cosplaying from Utena. I'm assuming that's second season Black Rose arc guy. The convention celebrities and personalities were presented at the opening ceremonies. Hey, I know that guy. He just retweeted our live broadcast. Or rather, reposted. The bird app is dead. You can expect two rituals from the opening ceremony of Anime Week Atlanta. First comes a throwing of candy to the crowd, here handled by convention officials Dave Merrill and Joe Vecchio. Then, Merrill presides over the burning of a card for Magic the Gathering, a way of remembering the time when Magic players cost the convention extra money by using a room the convention didn't think they were using. After the introduction of the convention's senior staff, including Lloyd Carter, it's time to meet the celebrity guest. They start with Steve Bennett of Studio Iron Cat, who seemed in good spirits despite losing his father to cancer the previous week. Then actor Michael Brady took to the stage and snapped a digital souvenir of the ceremony's audience. Actor Jessica Calvello had fans screaming in delight or disbelief when she framed an infamous chocolate milk joke. We'll see more of Calvello later on. Artist and animator Tim Eldred had just arrived from Los Angeles, where he was producing the Heavy Gear series for Sony. It's the first American robot anime show. It's all CG, said Eldred. I left my wife back in New York, but I brought Trixie instead, said Peter Fernandez, the writer and lead actor for the Americanized Speed Racer show. Trixie's voice and all the female voices of Speed Racer was provided by Corinne Orr, best known for the voice of Snuggles the bear in the fabric softener commercials. I have a confession to make, Orr told the audience. I am not human, I am a cartoon, and so are you. Ed Hill makes some money from cartooning, but his real goal is to serve as the master of the ceremonies each year for Anime Weekend Atlantis karaoke show. Carl Horn makes some money editing for Viz Communications, but his real goal is to create an American doujinshi that will be accepted at the Comic Market show in Japan. Amy Howard, whose entry into anime fandom netted her a fiancé, reminded the crowd that she had spent the last month packing boxes, moving to Atlanta, and getting ready for her marriage to the following weekend to David Wilson III. There's also a marriage angle to the appearance of manga artist Shinpei Ito, last seen by the page at Anime Iowa in August. Ito, creator of Hyperdolls, took a bride in 2000, and the bride was manga artist the perky Mio Odagi, who brought new editions of her Chick Doujinshi to sell at the convention. George Lowe has been the voice of the MARTA commuter train system in Atlanta, but animation fans know him best for the second voice of Space Ghost Coast to Coast, show on Cartoon Network. When an audience member questioned his sanity at the opening ceremony, Lowe answered, I am crazy, aren't? Why do you look like I'm here? Michael Granberry is a newcomer to anime voice acting, following roles in Battle Royale High School, with parts in Shinesman and Blue Submarine No. 6, a Bandai series that is headed towards Cartoon Network. Okay, let's see if I can pronounce his name right. Shandel Minuk is a Canadian cartoonist who helped create the Cheap Disposal Entertainment group of artists. She joked, at least it seemed like a joke, about an offensive cartoon that was pulled from the AWA program book. Another cheap disposal entertainment artist is Bruce Lewis. Known for his work on the Old Star Blazers comics, he had hand in hand the 2000 AWA t-shirts. Tiffany Grant, English language of Ozka, Doug Funn, and dozens of voices ADV film productions, was a late arrival because of a missed flight, but still instead insisted on dressing in her chocolate mist costume. The crowd still sang happy birthday to her. Riki and Tavisha Simmons have left the reality check comics behind and moved onto other things. They're working on an Invader animated cartoon for which Riki providing a voice and coloring the artwork. Brett Weaver, another ADV Films actor, may have disappointed fans when he left his trademark Hawaiian shirts at home in favor of suits, but he pleased the crowd when it was announced that he would be the master of ceremonies for the revised costume contest. This page last encountered Canadian translator Anna Exeter at SoccerCon. She returned to the U.S. convention scenes at AWA, along with U.S. translator Neil Needleman, who worked on Gundam and Fists of the North Star. As for seeing more of Jessica Calvello, here's a look at her new navel piercing. She had a contest to guess what piercing was on her website, by the way. Yeah, that was a thing in the early 2000s. Wasn't really into it, but that's just me. Here's a look at the Friday night costumers in Georgia. Okay. A lot of animal print this year. Looks like we got good old Steve. Okay, scrolling through. Oh, that's an amazing Sailor Moon musical. Sailor Moon. Yeah, there it is. Even has like the right kind of shade of yellow for the wig. Yeah, I still have nostalgia for like the early Sailor Moon musicals. I mean, I've seen this super live. Is that a Yaya Han? Why, yes, that is a Yaya Han. I think. Oh, I love how they did the wings on that. Okay, more photos here. There's also something with the Visual K crowd, and they would like kind of have like these chain and collar leash type things. Because I remember seeing a lot of that within the J-Rock crowd. Then again, I'm not really too deep into that fandom, so someone could probably explain it to me in the chat or in the comments. Remember, I was a magical girly girl. I like my anime rom-coms. I was reading Boys Over Flowers and His and Her Circumstances during this time period. I was also screaming at Marmalade Boy because that last arc kind of pissed me off. There's a really good in-depth video about like what's up with Marmalade Boy. It's like, yeah, I agree that it is one hot mess. All right. Friday wasn't a news and information day at Anime Week in Atlanta. The only thing that was accomplished was to have a good time, and the acting contingent broke out in the big exhibition of improvisational silliness. That's an honorary actor, Steve Bennett, on the left, and part of the improv group with George Lowe, Corinne Orr, Jessica Calvello, and Brett Weaver. It was the old Whose Line Is It Anyway game where people on the stage and in the audience thought of topics, and the guys on stage had to act them out. Since then, there's a famed Central Georgia chicken restaurant called the Big Chicken. Fowl were a favorite function of the group. Then there's the other audience favorite, the anime version of the old Match Game TV game show. Fans tried to guess the answers that the subreads would give silly statements with a conveniently located blank. Actor Tiffany Grant missed the game when she missed a flight from Texas, so actors Michael Brady and Michael Granberry were drafted as replacements. It got rough for Brady at one point when Calvello chased him across the room. Then there was a question based on the Doma Ramu character from Dragon Half that was so tough that no one could figure out the answer. Okay, so that looks like it wraps it up for Friday. And now we're going to go on to Saturday. Here's a big look at the huge haul costume collection from Saturday. All right, Rei Ayanami. And we have someone costuming as Utena. Okay, scrolling through. Oh, we have Nurse Angel Rika. That's one you don't really see that too much. I'm assuming that's from PQ Angels, the Gallon Green. We have a Nanami. There's a lot of love for Uten at this con. I appreciate that. Yeah, again, I feel like 2000 is the year when Utena Final Fantasy VIII and Fushigi Yugi really reign supreme. I'm just happy to be living in a day and age where I do have the skills to make Priestess Miyaka. However, even though like I have a great time wearing my Priestess Miyaka cosplay, I get like, are you cosplaying from Genshin Impact? Like, yeah, I'm cosplaying from Genshin Impact. Yeah. 28 pages. All right, looks like we got our work cut out for us. Let's keep scrolling through. Okay. Again. Oh, hey, it's Two Heart. I haven't seen anything from that anime in like ages. Again, I'm not a huge fan of like the cartoon mask aesthetic, but again, that's just my opinion. Okay, we've got Ranma and Ritsuko, an unlikely pairing. We got Trays from Gundam Wing. I love it. Check out these old anime standees in the back, too. Yeah, we got Saber Marionette. Got Rei Ayanami on one of those old school cameras. It was so surreal because when I was at Anime Expo last week, I had like my old school digital camera with me. And then I gave it to someone and like, yeah, I don't know if you know how to operate these. Like, yeah, I know, it's so cool. Like, this is like so Y2K. I'm like, yeah, so Y2K. I know I always carry a digital camera with me, even at cons. Even like I could use my phone, but I like to save battery on my phone, and I like to save space with within the cloud. And I just prefer like just having like my own digital versions with my digital camera. I know, just kind of like part of like just me. Nazca does the Valley of the Wind. We got musical Sailor Neptune. I also had like one of my buddies from high school do musical Sailor Uranus. Yep, a couple more. Here we have Princess Fireball, more Final Fantasy cosplays here. We have Iron Cat friends over here. Oh, they ain't kidding when like you have just pages of cosplay here. You have Saber Marionette. Oh, that's cute. I also like anytime I host like Fancy Fridays, anytime we're going through the cosplay section, I always like looking what's in the background, because like this is the days where you just took cosplayers like just kind of like just hang out in their natural habitat. You didn't say like, hey, let's go up against this wall, or like, hey, let's avoid people, which is good in practice, but this was just kind of more of like a Wild West day where like you can see things in the background. Like you can see what people who are just normal attendees were wearing. You can also see part of the dealer saw, or you can have like this guy who's cosplay as Speed Racer just kind of chilling out here, and like you can see like a bit of the panel room. That's Shishio. We got Kid. Oh, I love that Sailor V. That looks so awesome. We got Sailor Bacon. I remember Sailor Bacon. For those of you who don't know, Sailor Bacon used to run like this archive of anime lyrics. I believe it was animelyrics.com. And for animelyrics.com, that was kind of like our go-to to print out anime lyrics. If we were like planning to do anime karaoke at a convention, like you would like have okay, these are the songs I want to do. You print them out, bring it to you at the convention, and maybe like your CD, which had the song. Sometimes not vocal, sometimes not on vocal. Because back then, like CDs also had like the non-vocal tracks if you're getting like character singles. Because this is also during a time period when we really weren't. Yes, Napster did exist and the yes, file sharing did exist back then, but it wasn't. It's just hard to explain. You really had to be tech savvy to utilize those programs, because the next step was like, oh, how do I burn this onto physical media? So if I take like this song from an anime, I want to sing it at karaoke. So you also had to know someone who would like know like or have access to where you can like burn a track to a CD. Nowadays everything's digital, which is amazing. All right, expect to wait another few months to be able to see the remastered Macross on DVD. Don't we all? Here we are, like, still waiting for Do You Remember Love? Here's what the entire world of anime fandom wants to see: the remastered and subtitled version of Macross, The Dimension Beyond Space and Time, to be released by Anime Ego. Fans who have seen the original version of the first of the three series turn to the Americanized Robotech know that Macross is a far different creature, more sophisticated and intense than the version that was seen on the US television. At Anime Week Atlanta, fans were so anxious to see the remastered Macross like that, when Robert Woodward of Anime Ego said, "We are going to take every last dime you people have," the audience cheered. Woodhead treated those fans to a sample of the producer Shin Kurokawa's work on Macross. Shown was how Anime Ego version removes the major video flaws from the previous version seen on television, cable, and home video. It's been a long, expensive, and complicated struggle to create a watchable and accurate version of the mid-1980s classic, so complicated that the release date for the Anime Ego DVD edition has been delayed again, Woodward said. Among other things, hard experience from previous DVD releases shown Woodhead that not all discs will work properly on all players. Older and less expensive players have firmware incompatibilities with the encoding on newer discs, he said. So Anime Ego is going to push back on the Macross release date, most recently planned for the Christmas holiday shopping season, until they're sure that they can get the DVDs who play properly on all players. If we try to get Macross out for Christmas, we would not be able to test it properly, said Woodhead. It's too much of a risk. So, Anime Ego's major holiday release will be the next set of Urusei Yatsura episodes on DVD. If that works properly, the company will know if they will be ready to master and release a Macross disc, which most likely will be released in the late spring or early summer of 2001, around 2 years after Anime Ego announced they had the rights to release the subtitled version of the series. The extra time will lead Anime Ego also work on the extras for the DVD release. Kurokawa hopes to get Mari Jima, who voiced Min-Mei, to record a commentary track. In the meantime, Anime Ego is working to get its back catalog transferred to DVD, with 5 studios handling those titles. And Carolina Recording will bring back the English language You're Under Arrest cast to dub the television episodes of that series. It was a time for the industry guys to explain what's real and what's not. So, why would these American anime companies replace the atmospheric title Rurouni Kenshin with a cliche-ridden Samurai X when they release a story of a rootless wandering swordsman in feudal Japan? Because it sells tapes, that's why. The revelation came when industry officials spoke at Anime Week in Atlanta. The owners and producers were asked about the difference in sales of anime videos to hardcore fans and to people in video and music stores. And Matt Greenfield of ADV Films noted that packaging and marketing makes more of an audience to the general audience than to anime fans. While fans go for their favorite series, often the general public looks at the titles on the tape. That leads to Rurouni Kenshin. Greenfield noted that it's one of the best-selling home videos of September, but as Samurai X and not under the title, which fans grew to know. Everyone said nobody's going to buy it because of the title, but they're buying it by the truckload, Greenfield said. John Cirabella of Media Blasters expanded on the point, noting that anime titles with ninja, shogun, and samurai in the title have a marketplace advantage over other titles. The buyers of the stores know that ninja titles sell, so that's what they buy, Cirabella said. Greenfield added that he knew of a case where a video was released under one name and it didn't sell well, so the title was changed to include ninja, and re-release outsold the first release. What about online animation? There are several ways of looking at this idea, according to Sony animator Tim Eldred. On one hand, the release of its newest Flash animation program has encouraged animators to make more shows in this format, and there's plenty of growth happening there. Second, the rise of broadband internet access will lead to more cell and CGI animation through formats such as Apple QuickTime formats that work properly at dial-up internet speeds. However, there will be a problem with universal broadband access, the panel said. How can you get people to pay for the animation? How can you stop sharing piracy of the kind seen with Napster? No one was sure how that would work out. Some of the gold old hands of acting had a good time on Saturday. Trixie and Speed Racer were at Anime Week Atlanta on Saturday. Anime fans will know Corinne Orr and Peter Fernandez best as the voices of the Americanized Mach Go Go Go. How many voices is hard to tell because this is half of the show's voice cast. All of the 4 voice actors on Speed Racer doubled, tripled, and quadrupled voices for the series. And that was just for a single episode. Union rules discourage that sort of thing nowadays, or said that it was a great time in the 1960s. A newer generation fans grew up to Orr's voice in the TV commercial where she played Snuggles the bear in the advertisements for the fabric softener. Those little 30-second epics took months to produce, she recalled. Her initial voice track took 3 hours to record. The bear needed 3 puppeteers to operate, and another month or so needed to assemble the commercial. And she still needed to handle the retakes on top of the voice tracks before the advertisement was ready to air. And on top of that, Orr recorded children's voices for the first dub of the Gamera movie. Fernandez wrote the scripts for Speed Racer, and Orr had to deliver the lines. How did she create Trixie's voice? I always look at the picture and I get the character, she said. Trixie was higher than my regular voice. I approached her with as much sincerity and feeling as I could. Orr said it took a lot of concentration to get the dubbing cues just right, and Fernandez added that it took some tolerance for Orr to survive the roles with 3 other male actors who smoked or didn't smoke, and it was rough for her to get along in those smoke-filled dubbing booths. Decades ago, Fernandez was playing stage roles in Atlanta, and he's seen a big change in the acting style since then. The acting is more stylized then. Now it's more people acting absolutely real. Fernandez stays closest to the Speed Racer world outside of conventions. On a Labor Day weekend, he was invited to travel to Auburn, Indiana for the huge Cruise auto auction, where a full-size replica of the Mach 5 car from the series was sold for $180,000. The costume contest was quick and entertaining, a series of walk-ons. Okay, about 14 pages of this. Oh, we got Chibi Moon, we got a Ninja Turtle, got Fu. Not sure who this is. Again, if you recognize any of these fandoms or if you know these folks, shout them out in the chat, shout them out in the comments. Okay, just scrolling through. Looks like we got Lane in the bear Kigurumi, the bear onesie. Someone had asked me if I would ever cosplay as Lane in the bear onesie when I first started cosplaying. Get Serenity. I'm assuming this is from Sorcerer Hunters. Again, I just couldn't get into Sorcerer Hunters. It just really wasn't my thing. We got more Final Fantasy VIII. We have Riding Bean. We have Naga. We have Anthe. Okay, we have Ryoko. Not sure what that uniform is from. Sakura. A JRPG. I'm not too sure what it is from. Toga. Looks like we got the host just chit-chatting there. Some really cool costumes here. Looks like that's from Dragon Ball. Sadly, no photos are loading for Old Ford. One of the goddesses from Oh My Goddess. Sailor Jupiter. We have Sailor Uranus. Okay, looks like that's it for the cosplay contest. Alright, some amazing costumes were among the contest winners. Oh dang, check that out. We got Shiva from Final Fantasy. Technical achievement went to the Final Fantasy VIII group. Best Cat Girl. Yeah, we never have like a Best Cat Girl category anymore. What's up with that? Best Design, Most Original. Honorable mentions went to I Want to Learn Magic. Oh, that's a really awesome Yui. This guy looks familiar. I'm not sure what it is. Lane. Again, I feel like I've seen this character before. Mojo Jojo. We have Ryoko. Anime Pavilion Awards. Pretty awesome. Lisa Ortiz's awards. Hey, remember when Guest of Honor used to like hand out awards? Tiffany Grant's awards. Steve Bennett's award also went to Shiva. Bruce Lewis's awards. Ed Hill's awards. Best Child. Hey, looks like we got a pretty robust group of cosplay contest winners. But it looks like we got more panels on Saturday. The fan fiction fraternity had their Georgia gathering. Fraternity. If you walked into an Anime Weekend Atlanta panel room on Saturday and heard some people talking about misting, they weren't chatting about rainy weather that started the convention. They were fan fiction writers discussing one of the odder writing techniques found on the internet. The panel included, left to right, Jamie Bateman, Kevin Callahan, Kenner Barnes, Robert Hain, and Gary Klepp. The misting talk was actually MSTing, as in Mystery Science Theater 3000, the cult TV show that satirizes old movies. That idea has slipped into fan fiction, and one author will copy another's presumably bad story and make parenthetical jokes about it. The panel didn't seem too enthusiastic about the idea. If I didn't like the fic the first time around, I won't read it again, said Bateman. The panel produced some comments on some bad fan fiction, something that spreads widely on the net where there are no editors. How can you limit bad fan fiction? You can't. It's the internet, Callahan said. TJ Hamilton, the panel moderator, noted there's a lot more arguing and insulting online among authors than in real life, but that's true of a lot of online life, of course. More serious was the talk about how to keep developing ideas and avoid dreaded writer's block. The best way to break up writer's block is through a large sledgehammer. Hayne joked He added, I don't want to break the block, I just want to go around it. Haynes said that getting hung up on the story without making progress is often a result of laying out an entire plot in advance. His solution to find another path for the story. I don't plot, I'm a humor writer. I write what goes with the best jokes, he said. The Powerpuff Girls are really powerful. This picture wasn't taken at an anime convention or a comic book show. It was taken at a pickup truck and monster truck festival where people care more about the horsepower than sells and paint. The people who operate the souvenir booths at these events have to carry merchandise that sells well, so it's important to note what they're displaying. Under this noonday sun stood Spider-Man, Scooby-Doo, and the Powerpuff Girls. It was a clear indication of the impact that these deceptively simple drawings have had since they started as a Cartoon Network feature a couple years earlier. Stephanie Gladden is one of the artists who works on Powerpuff episodes, and she represented the Cartoon Network at the convention. The Cartoon Network has never represented itself as the "if you're sick of Nickelodeon, watch us" network, she said, noting that the Cartoon Network has been looking for an audience of children and adults, and plans to produce some late-night shows that are intended to appeal to a more mature audience than kids. The Powerpuff Girls were one of the several series commissioned by the cable service, and Craig McCracken's creation has proven to be among the most popular of the new shows. He's a very sweet guy, said Gladden about McCracken. He likes it when people draw the girls and care for them. The Powerpuff show is a part of the West Coast versus East Coast artistic split in modern animation. McCracken studied animation at Cal Arts on the West Coast, while other shows such as Courage the Cowardly Dog came from East Coast creators who gravitated towards New York and Rhode Island college art and design. The West Coast animators are most used to a team way of living, said Gladden. In New York, it's not unusual for a person to do a cartoon in his basement. In California, you do a storyboard and send it off to somebody to animate. The convention had a gigantic collection of voice actors. Now, this is a big group of actors. 11 were in one room at Anime Week in Atlanta, topping the number that appeared earlier in the year at Project Acon. They were Brett Weaver, George Lowe, Corrine Orr, Peter Fernandez, Amy Howard, Michael Brady, Jessica Calvello, Lisa Ortiz, Michael Granberry, Tiffany Grant, and Doug Smith. One of the fans in the audience wanted to know how to get started as an actor. The answer? You have to know someone who knows someone. Ortiz Wright had a long answer that started, my brother's car broke down and I got to meet somebody. Some people say get an agent, but that doesn't work for me. I don't know how to get work. After several minutes, Calvello replied, everything Lisa said goes for me. Others noted that it's possible to get an anime voice role through a newspaper ad, but you have to be in the right town where the auditions are taking place. Usually that means living in the right town. We noted how Orr had been everything in dubs, from a spokesbearer for a fabric softener to children and girls in movies and in cartoon. Lowe gets a lot of attention as Space Ghost's voice in the Coast to Coast show on Cartoon Network, but he is best known in Atlanta as the voice of the MARTA commuter train system. By the way, Lowe really liked the special episode of Coast to Coast series where the producers showed a writing session. Howard went years between her Nova role in Star Blazers and her next role in an episode of Irresponsible Captain Tyler. While Brady has worked on a radio drama between dubs, Brady loves to work, but he's realistic about his career. Anime work is no way to make a living. There's not enough money to fly original cast members across the country for dubbing, he said. Translators told the truth to fans. We all know what translators do on anime projects, or do we? The group on hand at Anime Week Atlanta said there's no more work to be done than just switching the dialogue from Japanese to English. Shin Kurakawa and Anna Exter told how they also have to time the dialogue. They make a list of each line of speech, marking down the time from the beginning of the show to when the line appears. That list is used to set up the subtitles and dub script. In theory, the translators are supposed to produce a first draft of the script, which is supposed to be refined and rewritten by the scriptwriters. In practice, the first draft sometimes ends up on screen. On Trigon, I was pleasantly surprised to see that my translation was used word for word, noted Exter. I thought I never meant for that to be a read aloud. Neilman, who may be the busiest freelance translator in the business, said that translators have to be careful that they put the translation into context because the original Japanese can have multiple meanings, and stuff sounds more natural in Japanese. Natural in Japanese sounds strange in English. He noted the context item meant that Neilman had to defend his Fushigi Yugi translation against fans who thought that he got it wrong and censored a character. The character speaks in what's considered rough fashion in Japanese, and a fan summer interpreted to mean that the character's speech was laced with obscenities. Needleman's interpretation was that the character was more gruff and direct than profane. Alright, let's head over to the last day, Sunday. But before we look at Sunday, I just wanted to let y'all know that we do have a subathon coming up tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you subscribe to our Twitch channel, all subscriptions will go towards Nico's vet bills. Please support this cause. More information can be found in the description of this video on Nico's GoFundMe. We were able to raise enough to pay for his first 2 months of vet bills, but we would appreciate any support you might have to donate to Nico's GoFundMe. We really appreciate any help you might have. Spread the word out, tell your friends. Nico is an important part of my life, and if you do subscribe to our channel, you also get a series of Nico emotes as created by my friend Komi, who also created a lot of the visuals you see here at my VTuber, my Twitch channel here. And in addition to Nico's GoFundMe, we also have KinyobiCon. I am a virtual guest at KinyobiCon, and I hope to see you all there. I will be available during the Friday virtual version of KinyobiCon. So my next convention appearance is going to be virtual, and I look forward to seeing you all there. Okay, let's head over to Sunday. The number of costumers flowed like an unending stream on the event's final day. Okay, 10 pages of costumes, let's go. Yeah, Sorcerer Hunters was really a thing back then. So I guess if Tiffany Grant was a guest of honor at these conventions, you would probably see people cosplaying from Sorcerer Hunters. That's a really good Sailor Uranus. Then we also have Noriko. I love that in Fushigi Yugi, all the characters have this different variant outfits, and you could still tell who they are. Got Shiva. We also saw a lot of people wear latex thematic clothes at conventions. Yep, more visual K goodness. Check out that Mana. I was gonna say, is that Papa Emeritus? Tobias, is that you? I've got a Lupin gang. I'm happy anytime I see a Lupin gang cosplay group. Sometimes I just want to bring back Fujiko, but the anime world is not ready for Fujiko. Okay, I was wait, Mad Max came out way later. Well, Fear Road specifically. Not sure where that's from. Cardcaptor Sakura in the cat outfit. I still need to figure out how to get that bell. Alright. There is one more group of costumers to view from Georgia. Alright, let's take a look at our last batch of costumers. Oh, we have Sakura! Yeah, Ranma. We have a giant Pokeball. We have someone Surge cosplayer. Being interviewed by local TV, it looks like. Oh, we have like early Nima. That's awesome. I'm so happy that Perfect Blue has like made like a huge resurgence. Like parasocial relationships, people are getting it now. Professor Tomo. Got Lee Koran. Got Zealous. It's a secret. Or Sora Himitsu desu. I actually was encouraging a friend of mine to cosplay as Zealous. Like, hey, Dream Cosplay Group, let's cosplay from the Slayers. I'll be Lena. And you could be my Zealous. One group of industry representatives had some observations on Sunday. When some of the people from anime and animation industry got together on the final day of Anime Week in Atlanta, they had a lot to say. The convention happened to come a few weeks after the big political flap, fueled by a congressional committee and the presidential campaign, about the potential damage from violent entertainment. Animator Tim Eldred wasn't impressed with the talk. What they're complaining about is badly written violence, he said. Well-written violence shows the repercussions of an act, but badly written violence doesn't. You look at Japanese cartoons and you think, I can get away with it. You look at US cartoons and you think, I can get away with it. Why are there so many fans of anime outside of Japan? Americans are more broad-minded than Europeans because we have this concept of a multicultural nation, said Viz manga editor Carl Horn. Americans may be more open to Asian films than anyone had realized. It's popular because it's strange and it's different. Freelance translator Neil Nadelman is one of the people who thinks that there are so many translated anime shows around that eventually someone will decide to start an all-anime cable channel in the US. He points to Time Warner's anime success as his example, saying, if you told me 3 years ago that Cartoon Network would be anime's best friend in America, I couldn't have believed you. Horns, who also has Nadelman's long memory, pointed to a passage in the Japan Edge book which quoted a former Cartoon Network executive as saying 4 years ago that Americans would not accept anime shows. Of course, Nadelman is also critical of some Americanized anime, especially the Fox Kids version of The Vision of Escaflowne, which tied into some talk about the never-ending sub versus dub debate. Nobu Yamamoto of Bandai noted that dubs far outsell subs in the US, but that distinction may become obsolete with the rise of DVD. While VHS tapes have only one soundtrack, DVDs can have both English and Japanese dialogue, along with subtitles in several languages. While others from the industry had project announcements. Fans of ADV Productions got to see the familiar face of Matt Greenfield on Sunday morning and got to hear about the new releases from the Texas company. They'll be releasing Steel Angel Kurumi and Super Milk-chan in the future, said Greenfield. Milk-chan is an oddity in this group, a series that looks like a simple show for little kids, but it's a weird satiric romp. Greenfield had hoped to make another product announcement at Anime Week in Atlanta, but the contract wasn't finished in time, so fans were facing a wait until the next convention to hear the news. ADV did mention that their list of the 5 series that fans want to see re-released on DVD: Gunsmith Cats, Blue Seed, Sorcerer Hunter's Dirty Pair, and Those Who Hunt Elves. Greenfield and Dave Williams had to disappoint fans who had hoped to have seen Spriggan movie in theaters by the time that Anime Week in Atlanta arrived. A flood of major movie releases during the summer led ADV to delay Spriggan's theatrical run until February of 2001. They said in the meantime, ADV plans to release most of its catalog on DVD, issuing fresh titles as often as once a week, and that Robotech deal not only includes the 1980s US version with all 86 episodes, but Robotech the Sentinels, a rarely seen codename Robotech show. I actually own the VHS of that. This is an unusual and unexpected combination. Jerry Chu of Bandai and Carl Horn teamed up to announce that their companies would jointly release Jinro, the police drama, directed by Hiroyuki Okiura, from a script by Mauro Oshii, to U.S. movie theaters in 2001. All of this is in its very early stages, said Chu. It's the best film I've seen since Princess Mononoke or End of Evangelion, said Horn. A film that tells the story of oddly symbiotic relationship between police and terrorists in a country that bears an odd resemblance to Japan in the 1960s. Horn also noted that the publishing arm of Viz was releasing Secret Comics Japan, an anthology of underground comics from the famed low-circulation Garo manga. Artist Shinpei Ito was hoping to be able to announce his Moldiver series would be released in manga form through Studio Iron Cat, but the deal wasn't completed. He said that Pioneer had agreed to the deal. It would be awesome if it could be released by Iron Cat, Ito said. In the meantime, Ito could look ahead to more work on the series he produces for a publication in Japan. I had to complete one project a month, which is difficult for most people, but not me. I always get the toughest jobs. Is there a female angle to anime? What stories are beyond gender and strength? What are the stories beyond gender and strength? Alright, curious to see what the take was in 2000. In live action movies, there aren't many roles for strong women. In anime, most of those roles seem to be powerful. Most of those roles seem to be for powerful women as heroes. The women who play English language versions of these roles were asked about their parts at an Anime Week Atlantic panel on Sunday. Actor Jessica Calvello mentioned her Cutie Honey role was as a strong woman, while Tiffany Grant wondered if Honey would be as popular if she didn't measure 6'64", 12, 64. Grant felt her Elise role in Plastic Little was a weak character because she just whimpered a lot. She didn't have a lot of empowerment. In Soruya Asuka Langley, Grant's signature role from Evangelion was a weak character, in her opinion. Oh boy, I have people who would like to argue against that. Lisa Ortiz needed no prompting to talk about her strong women roles. Deedlit from Wrecker Lotus War and Lena Inverse from Slayers. Deedlit was an elf, but she was realistic, said Ortiz. Her journey as a person was very realistic. Weak characters? She's about any of the cute girls from Pokemon, she said, although one person at the panel piped that Jessie wasn't a weak person. This was written in 2000, and even then I would also have some words for that too. The panel discussion was moderated by Christian Smith, the person who assembled the convention's program book. He wanted the audience to think about what you watch. A character in a show is never completely sexist or liberated. Entertainment does not make you do things. But if you pursue sexist entertainment, they'll make more of it. There are plenty of entertaining dumb things, but there are entertaining smart things too. Any discussion about gender issues and anime raises the gender bending of Ranma one-half series from Rumiko Takahashi. Elizabeth Christian of the AWA staff noted that fans catch onto the idea that no matter whether Ranma is in male or female form, he acts like a man, or as a man would be presumed to imitate a woman. Smith added that Takahashi, a woman, writes stories that are uniquely aimed at young male audience, as opposed to the many female manga artists who write for a female audience. This leads to the issue of yaoi, stories of male-male love, which Christian said that those stories can seem to be tales of women writing about themselves. If they had written about female characters, that may have trouble getting those stories published. That's a take I never thought of. As the sun sets slowly in the west, the author gathers his thoughts on Anime Week at Atlanta. First off, thanks to Delta Airlines for cutting the fares to Atlanta and keeping the author from having to drive 8 hours across 4 states to get to the conventions. Further, thanks to the airline for getting the author to Hartsfield International Airport on time, despite the Friday morning rains that could have delayed the flight. These conventions are special because of the people who attend them, and nothing drove the point home more than when the author took a Sunday evening stroll through the area where Anime Week Atlanta had been held. In a place where crowds of fans had gathered were now empty tables, blank spaces, and bins full of trash. All the life that had been generated over the weekend was gone. It was a lonely feeling to see the area after it had been drained of the convention's energy. The feeling didn't last long, though. A chance meeting with a costumer in the lobby who wanted to see the page's pictures led to a nighttime dinner trip with a group of friends from the US and Japan. That fellowship over food brought back the point that anime fandom grows and anime conventions thrive because of the wonderful people who attend these events. The video and dealer's room helped make the show, but the conventions would be nothing without the enthusiasm of thousands of fans. There's always a huge difference between the animosity and anger often seen online and the joy expressed by the people who climb behind their keyboards and travel to the events. The worst thing about these conventions and that they have to end and the real world beckons all too soon. This page started 3 years ago at Anime Week in Atlanta. There were barely 10 anime conventions in North America in 1997. By contrast, there have been around 30 conventions by the end of 2000, and 4 new events were announced for 2001 before the end of September 2000. 3 years ago, AWA was by itself on the convention schedule. In 2000, there was another convention on the same weekend, Animagic in California. I was there. And AWA was expected to have its share its 2001 dates with Nondescon in Colorado, the page's next convention trip in 2000. Most of that convention growth came south of the Mason-Dixon line, from Maryland through Virginia and the Carolinas. You can go to more conventions in the South than in the West, which says something about the anime fandom's growth outside of California and its large Asian population. Anime Week Atlanta drew around 2,700 people in 2000, roughly double the convention's 1997 attendance. That growth leading the convention organizers to move the 2001 event to a hotel and convention center near Hartsfield International Airport, which is said to have enough room for the event to grow for years and years. Over the last couple of years, Anime Week Atlanta got the reputation as a party con that has more enthusiasm and organization. Did the event's 6th edition match that reputation? Yes. This author heard a few grumblings about the way the convention was run. Some of the complaints were even made by a man wearing a dress of all things, but can't agree with the complaints. Everything started late, and a handful of guests didn't show, but those guests were on hand, and the fans who gathered to greet them made for a memorable event. One of the big changes in the convention came with the costume contest, which was switched from a parade of skits to a fast-paced series of walk-ons. The author had doubts about the change, but it worked. The long show in 1999 turned into a quick procession in 2000, and everyone enjoyed the change. After the main contest was over, the stage was left open to those who wanted to present skits, but the audience had left by then. Another one of the changes at AWA was the start of a separate programming track and devoted solely to music videos. The author regrets not getting any of those production panels to learn more of the art of making those videos. The author owes a large debt of gratitude to the fans who recognized the page from the name tag he wore. There were many people who showed appreciation for the efforts on this page, a response that makes the time and expense worthwhile. Things got interesting over the weekend when tables were turned and the photographer became the model. A costumer presented the author with a gift of a fur tiger stripe cap with kitty ears, the closest thing to a costume this author has worn since high school days. The author wore the cap in gratitude and found that people walked up to him and said, "That cap is cute," and took pictures. Well, it's only fair that after posting thousands of pictures of costumers, that the author was the subject of some of those pictures, although he wonders why anyone would want to post those pictures online for fear of scaring someone. The future appears to be bright for conventions and fandom, and only a few things have derailed the momentum in the last few years. The author looks at the conflict in the Middle East and wonders if that could lead to serious trouble, glances at the politically driven criticism of violent entertainment, and worries that anime could be the next target, and watches the shrinking and earning reports of major corporations and asks if it could lead to a recession, which could be the blunt of the affluence that finances conventions and fans. Okay, with that said, before we log off, I wanted to also just mention my book, The Fangirl Diaries. If you love this era of anime conventions, check out my book, The Fangirl Diaries. Information in the description where you can order my book. This is all about the intersection of girlhood and anime fandom at the turn of the millennium. Basically, this is a celebration of the cringe culture, Y2K anime style. So, if you're interested, link is in the description. Would love to sign a copy of your book if I'm ever at a convention you're at. In addition to that, again, please definitely consider donating to my cat's vet bills. This is his GoFundMe. Would appreciate it if you do. And with that said, thank you so much for joining us for another edition of Fansview Fridays. Fansview Fridays is a labor of love and a tribute to a dear friend. Fansview Fridays is here to preserve the history of anime fandom, so all of this information does not get lost in history, because as we learn, webarchive.org can go down at any time. So this is just our way of really preserving fandom history. And with that said, thank you so much for tuning in to Fansview Fridays. We will see you next week.